G'day, my name's Peter. Well, it is these days anyway. I used to be known as Simon, but when I met Jesus, he gave me a brand new life to go with my new name. Peter, the rock. The rock on which Christ would build his church, in fact. I've got to say, I thought it was a bit of a joke at first. I mean, when I look back over my life, I see so many times where I've been anything but rock-like. I was always more like the storms on the Sea of Galilee that just came up out of nowhere. I was headstrong, outspoken, and more often than not, well, I didn't really think things through before words tumbled out of my mouth. Oh, don't get me wrong. I mean, there were times when I got it right, like perfectly spot on. But it always seemed like it wouldn't be too long before I got it wrong again. I came crashing down and I couldn't get it more wrong. This rock certainly showed his feet of clay, some might say. Here's the thing though, Jesus never gave up on me. I mean, sure, he told me off when I got it wrong, even predicted when I would. I mean, everyone knows the story of how I denied Jesus just as he predicted, right? But not once did Jesus give up. In fact, right after I'd had this revelation that Jesus was the Messiah and he called me the rock on which his church would be built, I stuffed up again. He foretold of his death. And I spoke up against it and he rebuked me. But he didn't say, I take it back. I'll find another foundation for my church. You know, after his death, we were all a bit confused, Jesus had been raised up from death. We knew it. We'd seen him a couple of times, but then he disappeared. And we were all sitting around one day trying to work out what we should do, when suddenly someone remembered Jesus saying that after he was raised up, he would go ahead of us to Galilee. So we packed up everything and we made our way there. But of course, when we arrived, we didn't see him and we really didn't know what to do. So I guess I kind of slipped back into my old life. I'm going to grab a boat and go fishing, I said. So the others joined me. Can I tell you, though, I have never had a worse night out in the boat. All night we were out there, all night, and we caught nothing, not a single fish. I've got to tell you, I was feeling pretty rotten. I mean, I just failed majorly when put to the test while Jesus was on trial, and now I'd failed at the only thing I knew how to do before I even met him. Sunrise was fast approaching. But even through the grey light of dawn, we could make out this silhouette of a man on the beach. We had no idea who it was. Even when he called out to us, "Hey guys, caught any fish?" "Nope, not one," we called back. And then he shocked all of us with his response. "Throw your net over the starboard side, then you'll catch some." Seriously? Some of us gave up being professional fishermen to follow Jesus, and now this guy is telling us how to do our job? However, by that point we were all ready to pretty much try anything, so we did what he said, and you know what? There were so many fish in that net that we couldn't even pull it back into the boat. And then the realization hit John, and he turned to me and he said, "It's the Lord." Well, as usual, I just couldn't hold back. I jumped in the water and I swam to shore to meet him while the others came in the boat. And when we got there, we saw a fire. He'd already started a fire burning, and he already had some fish laying on the coals. And he told us to bring some of our fish that we'd just caught. Can you believe there were 153 fish? And I mean, a whole night of fishing, and we caught nothing. Throw the net over the other side, and we catch 153 fish. And not just little ones that we'd have to throw back, like large fish. Well, once we dealt with the fish, Jesus invited us over for breakfast. Come and have breakfast with me. He took a loaf of bread that he had and he broke it, and he did the same with the fish, and then we ate. And can I tell you, it was the best breakfast I have ever eaten. But then, after breakfast, Jesus took me aside to have a little chat. Moments like these, they always made me feel uncomfortable, especially when I knew that I'd screwed up, and I knew that this time was a biggie. This was it. I was out for sure. But Jesus simply looked at me and he said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than the other disciples do?" I've got to admit, I was confused. I was preparing for a telling off, not this. So I replied, "Well, yes, Lord, you know that I love you." And then he simply said, "Feed my lambs." We walked in silence for a little further, and then he asked me again, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." My confusion was growing. "Take care of my sheep." Silence again as we continued to walk, but then he asked me a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Well, that was it for me. I was confused and annoyed and feeling like he doubted me. And I know that I denied him, but come on, I'd already told him twice. And I mean, I know that he knows all things, so I just put it out there, frustration and all. "Lord, you know everything there is to know. You've got to know that I love you. Feed my sheep." I played this whole morning and the conversation over and over and over in my head before a few things about it kind of clicked. First of all, the fish. Jesus already had fish on the fire. He didn't need ours. But he invited us to add to the food that he'd already prepared. Jesus uses our God-given talents and he adds to them. He adds them to the work that he's already doing in our lives. He invites us to share in a feast that he has prepared using whatever gifts we bring him. Secondly, the net. All night that net was empty. All night, even though we exhausted our expert fishing techniques. But when we obeyed Jesus' direction to do things differently, the net was full and it didn't break. God grows our capacity through our obedience. And finally, back by the fire when I denied Jesus, I never said he wasn't the Messiah. I didn't deny his divinity. What I denied was my relationship with him. I said I wasn't a disciple. And when I was challenged, I screamed that I didn't even know him. But now, as we walk together, Jesus not only restored our relationship, he created a new one between us. Jesus often referred to himself as the Good Shepherd. And when he told me to feed his sheep, he was entrusting the care of his flock to me, the one who had messed up so many times. Jesus finished our conversation that morning in the same way that he began our relationship, with the words, "Follow me." Jesus is calling you now to follow. Follow me whether we're fishing or herding sheep. Follow me when he calls us to change the way that we've always done things so that he can bless us abundantly. Follow me as he prepares a feast for us that combines what he provides with what we offer of ourselves. Follow me into such a close relationship, such a deep love, that all can be forgiven and all can be made whole. Jesus calls. Will you follow?